hook clamp. Okay, we're going to start by working on this sketch here. We'll draw this portion of the hook clamp first, and then we'll focus on the shaft, and then at the end we'll draw the counterbore hole and this simple hole. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the sketch. So when we do our sketch, we're going to draw our arc about the origin of the sketch. Okay, with the radius of 438. Okay, so let's go to CATIA and let's draw a sketch on the XY plane. All right, so we're going to go ahead and draw a circle at the origin. Okay, let's go ahead and add a dimensional constraint. Double click on it. If yours is set to diameter, go ahead and switch down here to radius and type in 0.438. There it is. Let me go ahead and zoom in. All right, so let's go back to the PDF file. Okay, so the next thing we're going to draw is we're going to draw these lines. And we have angles, but it's in reference. So we're just going to draw lines, and we're going to go ahead and use these dimensions to define them. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to our sketch. Okay, so I'm going to use the line command. And I'm just going to guesstimate the location. I'm going to overextend, click, and then I'm going to go tangent to that line or to the circle. There it is. And let's repeat the same thing on the bottom. So I'm going to be exact at first, but we'll fix it with our constraints. And then barely touch the circle so it'll create a tangency constraint. And there it is. Okay, now maybe you haven't used the eraser command. Go ahead and dock these toolbars into place back where they belong. Okay, so here we have the eraser. Okay, I'm going to double click on the eraser. Oh, I only clicked once. Let me deselect, double click. I'm going to do multiple erase deletes. I'll just double click on the eraser. I'm going to remove this portion of the arc, remove that portion, and this portion. Okay, so we could have also used trim extend. I just wanted you to be aware of this eraser. It's a quick delete command. All right, so let's go on to the end of this. Okay, let's go back to the drawing. All right, so we have a radius of 1.188. Okay, so let's draw a circle to the center. Draw a radius of 1.188. Okay, so let's draw the next circle at that same center point. Okay, and we're going to type in a radius of 1.188 and enter. Okay, so now we can do the same thing with the eraser. Double click, remove the portions you don't want. I misclicked. Let's double click again. Double click. There it is. We don't want this portion. We don't want this portion nor this portion. Okay, hit escape to deselect. Okay, one thing that I am missing is I need symmetry between these two lines with respect to the horizontal axis. In case you were not aware, the H stands for horizontal axis and the V for vertical axis, and the intersection is the origin. All right, so now I'm going to pre-select these two lines. And lastly, select the line of symmetry, which is the horizontal axis. Then I'm going to put a constraint of symmetry. And there it is. It added the symmetry constraint, as you can see. Okay, so always pick your elements first while holding onto the control key and select your line of symmetry last. And okay, there it is. Okay, so now let's go ahead and add our dimension of 0.375. 0.375 from this point to this point. And enter. Okay, and there it is. That's all we needed for this sketch. Let's do a tool sketch analysis just to double check everything looks good. Everything's closed. As you can see, everything's closed. And let's go ahead and exit. All right, so now I'm going to do a pad. Okay, this tells us it has an overall height of 0.41. Okay, so I'm going to do a pad of 0.41, which is just 0.38 plus 0.03, which is 0.41. This is in parentheses as a reference because it would be double dimensioning with respect to these two dimensions. Okay, so we're going to do a pad of 0.41, 0.38 plus 0.03. Okay, so do a pad 0.41. Okay, there it is. Okay, let's rotate. And again, I'm trying to use the axis here later on for using other commands where we can use symmetry and we can rotate about this axis when we create our shaft. All right, so now let's focus on this view. Okay, so I need to create this cut here. And I'm going to create a cut here. I'm going to draw a rectangle to remove this portion of it. And then I'm going to draw a triangle to remove this portion of the pad. Okay, so let's start with this one. We're going to need help from the top view. All right, so we're going to draw a triangle, which is 0.415 from the axis. So from this axis to this point is 0.415. Okay, and then we're going to go downward at an angle of 1026. Okay. All right, so we're going to draw a sketch on this plane so we can remove this portion, and then we'll come in and do a rectangular cut all in one sketch. Okay, so let's go ahead and sketch. Now I want this on the other end, so I'm going to hit the normal command. Okay, so normal view, click on it, it'll straighten it out. Click on it again and it'll rotate it. As you can see, it flipped it 180. Okay, so we're going to draw that triangle. Double click to dock it back in place. Okay, so I'm going to draw a triangle. I'll use the profile command. I'm just guessing on the dimensions. Okay, there it is. Click and space to deselect. I'm going to project this edge. Okay, so let's use project. And okay. And click and space. Now I don't want this projected element to be a solid line, so I'm going to select it, turn it into a construction line. All right, and click and space to deselect. So you can see there's a construction element. Let me zoom in a little bit. Click and space. Okay, so we have this construction element, and we're going to put a relationship between that construction element and the horizontal line, and we're going to make it coincident. There it is. Okay, and then we're going to add a dimension from our vertical to this point. Okay, let's take a look at the drawing again. Okay, so that dimension is 0.415. 0.415 from the axis to where the slope starts. Okay, so from the axis to this point, 0.415. So let's put that dimension from the vertical to this point. And it's 0.415. And enter. Okay, now we need the angle. Angle is 10.26. Okay, so let's add the angle of 10.26 degrees. Ooh, I misclicked. Let me hit escape. Do it again. From the horizontal to the slope. Double click. click, and 10.26 is our angle. Okay, and there we have it. Now notice this is still white, meaning I can extend it. It's okay if we overextend it. It's a pocket. We're going to create a pocket. There's no solid in this area, so this part it'll ignore when I do a pocket. So this length doesn't really matter as long as it's not smaller than the overall length, or as long as it doesn't stay within this edge. We want to go beyond that edge. Let's go ahead and throw in a dimension. And I'll just type in 1 inch. Okay, so there's our triangle. Okay, now we're going to do a rectangular profile here. To do the cut, that's right here. Okay, so let's draw a rectangle. Go to rectangle. We're going to go slightly above. Oh, notice I forgot to get out of construction. I'm going to have to hit escape to exit the command. I forgot to turn off construction option. Turn it off. Now let's draw a rectangle again. I'm not going to go to this edge. I'm going to go a little higher because we're going to remove that portion of it. Okay, there it is. All right, so let's go get some dimensions. Okay, so we're going to remove this portion of it, which is 0.03. So 0.03, and then we're going to put a dimension of 0.50 from the axis to this point. All right. Okay, so we're going to put a dimension from the horizontal to this line. Dimension. There it is. To the horizontal. And let's change it to 0.03. So that's the undercut, 0.03. Then a dimension from the vertical axis to this vertical line. Let's take a look at that dimension again, which is 0.50. Okay, 0.50. Enter, there it is. Now the length of this doesn't really matter as long as we go through the solid. So it can be this short, it can be longer. We don't want it inside the solid because we're removing this entire portion of it. Okay, so let's extend. Okay, so I'm going to just throw in some dimensions. Doesn't matter. I'll go 0.25 on this one. And for this length, I'll just type in 1. It doesn't matter. Okay, so we need to remove this portion, that's solid, and this solid. So let's exit and do a pocket. But first, let's do a tool sketch analysis. Make sure everything's closed. Yes, everything's closed. Looks good. Close. Let's exit. And let's do a pocket. Okay, so as you can see, we have our sketch. Let's do a pocket. And as you can see, it's going to cut through the solid. I don't know how much length I need, so I'm going to just type in 1. Preview, it's okay if you overcut. Notice it's only cutting one portion of it, so we need to also go with mirror. So if we click on the mirror option, it'll also cut in the other direction. There it is. So it's going 1 inch in each direction, and hit OK. And there it is. So we have our pocket and our pocket. Okay, so there's our top portion of the hook clamp. Okay, so now what we need to do is we're going to create our shaft. So let's take a look at the shaft. Okay, so we're going to draw this profile. Okay, so we have a shaft with a diameter of 0.75. Okay, we have a diameter of 0.75. And we're going to draw this profile. Okay, and we're just going to do it with a rectangular shape, and then we'll revolve. Okay, so just like the last sketch, we're going to sketch on this plane, which is the ZX plane. Create a sketch. Let me hit normal to rotate it 180. There it is. All right, so we're going to draw this. So I'm going to project this over. I'm going to grab this edge. Going to project. Hit OK. And change it to a construction element. And click and space to deselect. You can see it's a construction element. Okay, once you deselect it by clicking in space or hitting escape, go back and turn off the construction option. All right, so let's go ahead and draw that profile. Okay, let's go back. So we're going to draw this profile. Okay. And for now, we'll just guesstimate the size. So we're only going to draw the left hand. We don't need to draw the right hand. We're gonna do a revolve. Okay, so let's use profile. Okay, for now I'm just guesstimating the location. Go ahead and zoom in. We'll come back and take care of the chamfer. Go all the way to the middle. Make sure it's a horizontal. Okay, and there it is. We have a close profile. Click in space to deselect or hit escape. Okay, so we know this is an undercut of 0.30. Okay, so the undercut is 0.30. My mistake, 0.03. Enter, there it is. We know the diameter, if we go back to the drawing, is 0.75. We're going to cut it in half because we're only drawing half of it. Okay, so 0.75. So let's go ahead and throw in that diameter. Okay, so it's going to be 0.75 divided by 2. So I'm going to just double click, type in 0.75 divided by 2. And let's see, clicking away. Oh, let me type it in again. 0.75. Oh, 75 divided by 2. Try it again. Click away. There it is, 0.375. So I inputted the wrong number earlier. So it's 0.75 divided by 2, which is 0.375, and OK. All right, now we need an overall length. And we also need the location for this one. Okay, so let's go back to the drawing. Overall length is 131. Okay, so 131. So let's throw in a dimensional constraint from the top to the bottom of 1.31. Enter, there it is. And we still need to locate this line here. Let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, we still need to locate this line. All right, so here it is. We have a dimension of 0.71. So we're going to take 0.71. That's the diameter from here to here. And divide it by 2. Okay, so let's throw in that dimension of 0.71. Okay, double click, type in 0.71 and divide by 2. 0.71 divided by 2. Click away, let CATIA do the math for you. So it's 0.355 and OK. And there it is. We have our sketch. Do a tool sketch analysis. Everything is closed and we're good. Okay, now when we exit the sketch, we're going to do a revolve about the vertical. Let's find it in the tree, this vertical axis, right click, center graph. There it is. So here's our sketch, here's our vertical. Okay, so we're going to revolve around this vertical axis. Let's go ahead and exit the sketch now. All right, so we're going to do let's go ahead and take this one out. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do a revolve, and they call it shaft. Okay, so for a solid, it's called shaft. I think when you do a cylindrical shaft, it's called revolve or revolute. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a shaft. We're going to rotate about the vertical. Okay, so let's go ahead and select the sketch. We're going to do a shaft. Okay, so we're going to do a shaft of the sketch, and let's pick our axis. Okay, so as you can see here in blue, it's asking for the axis. The axis is going to be that vertical axis. You can see it here, the vertical. And it's rotating 360 degrees. You can change the angle. Let's hit preview. So that's 360. Let's see what happens when we type in 180. And preview. That's 180 degrees, but we want 360. So let's type in 360. And OK. All right, so we're almost there. Let's go ahead and put the chamfer here on the edge. So here on the bottom edge, we have a chamfer. So our chamfer is 0.03 by 45 degrees. So let's go ahead and do a chamfer on the edge. Once again, it's 0.03 by 45. So 0.03 by 45 degrees. Preview. There it is. And OK. And now we need the holes, and we're done. Okay, so let's do a hole here on top. Okay, so we have a counterbore hole. Here's our counterbore hole. And even though it's pointing to the large circle, you always call out the little one first. The small hole is 0.38. Then we have a counterbore larger diameter. So you call out the larger diameter second. So that's this circle, 0.563, and a depth of 0.188. Okay, so once again, this hole has a diameter of 0.38. This one, 0.563, depth of 188. Okay, so we're going to pre-select this edge. Do hole command. Click the surface. Okay, so we're going to go all the way through. So go all the way to last, all the way through, all the way to last. So it goes all the way through the entire solid. Okay, once again, our diameter, 0.38. So 0.38. So we always do the first hole first, the small hole first, 0.38. Preview, there it is. So we have a 0.38 diameter hole going all the way through. Okay, now we're going to go to type. Let's go to type. Go to the second tab, type, and instead of a simple hole, we're going to create a counterbore hole. So you can see it's already generating the second hole. Okay, the diameter for that one is 0.563. And we have a depth of 0.188. Okay, so a depth of 0.188. Preview. And there's our counterbore hole. And OK. All right, so we're done with the counterbore hole. All we have left now is the simple hole. Okay, so the simple hole is at 0.938 from the axis. Now this is going to be a little bit difficult. We either have to create a sketch to create this hole, or we need to put a point in space and dimension from that point to locate this hole at 0.938. We'll just do a simple sketch. Okay, so we'll do a sketch here at the bottom. Okay, so on this surface, again, we prefer to put sketches on planes. Just go ahead and put it on the solid plane or solid surface as our sketch plane. So do our sketch. And we're going to place the hole on the horizontal axis. Okay, let's put a dimension from the center to the vertical. Okay, let's go back and get those dimensions. So 0.938 and diameter 0.26. This is actually a threaded hole, but I decided to keep it as a simple hole at 0.26. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that 938 dimension, 0.938. Okay. And let's go ahead and throw in that dimension of 0.26. Oh, should be diameter. Let me double click, change it over to diameter. I had radius as the default, 0.26, and enter. There it is. Okay, do a tool sketch analysis. Everything's closed. Everything looks good. Let's go ahead and exit. And let's do our pocket. So here's our pocket command, and go all the way up to last. See, go all the way through it, all the material up to last, and okay, and there's the hole. And we're done with the hook clamp. And once again, this is actually supposed to be a threaded hole at the assembly level. We're later going to install this into an assembly and attach a threaded shaft to this hole, which is supposed to have threads, but we'll just keep it as a simple hole. That's it. Hook clamp. End of video.